Good morning and welcome to the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd. Happy Tuesday. Happy return to normal day for most of the area. And what I mean by that is I think most schools return today. A lot of folks were still out yesterday for assortments of reasons. But now I think everybody kind of back out of the post-holiday routine or the post-holiday lack of routine and back into the normal daily grind, which is probably a bummer for a lot, but it's also kind of a reassuring, kind of comforting thing, especially after two and a half weeks of chaos. Check of I-20 this morning, and everything seems to be moving smoothly. Granted, it is still a smidge on the early side, 7:30. So if you're joining this after the fact, again, conditions seem to be moving relatively smoothly. But if you're watching this live at 8:15 in the morning and traffic is terrible, keep in mind that you're watching this late. Anyway, take a look at the visibility across the area. Never really was much of a problem. Natchez was at 2 miles visibility, now back up to 3. Same in Camden. Alexandria is at 5 miles. I just checked the camera from the Louisiana Mesonet over in Jonesville. Visibility is generally fine. The winds have stayed strong enough through the overnight hours to really keep fog formation from being a widespread issue in our area. May run into a patch here or there, but I don't think it'll be that much of an issue through the remainder of the morning. Gary, good morning to you. Temperatures across the area, low to mid-60s. Again, we bottomed out in the mid-50s for most locations during the morning hours, during around the late night, early morning hours. 11 p.m. to about 2 a.m. And then we started to see a gradual warming trend as the winds cranked up out of the south. And those winds, again, quite breezy at times through the overnight, and that kept the fog from being an issue, but it's also led to a warming trend. Again, the vast majority of our region is in the low to mid-60s at this hour. Most of our low temperatures, again, were in the mid to upper 50s several hours ago, and fairly uniform from 62 to 65 across a good chunk of the region. So again, those temperatures pretty much check out. Jan, good morning. You seem excited to get back into the normal routine. I don't blame you. Sharon, good morning to you as well. Dew point's pretty soupy, but that's also leading to the very uniform temperatures we have across the area. Low-level moisture will continue to move back in ahead of a weak cold front that'll pass through the area tonight. Winds, again, out of the south and southwest have been breezy enough this morning to mix up the environment and keep fog formation from being an issue. I wouldn't call them breezy by any stretch, generally in the 5 to 10 mile an hour range, but again, enough to do the trick to keep fog from being a big problem this morning. Winds will continue out of the southwest as we go through the rest of the afternoon. Still a bit breezy at times, probably in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range. We wiggle a weak cold front through the area tonight. Winds should stay fairly light along the boundary and behind it. I would expect a little bit of a northwesterly influence on the winds, at least to start the day tomorrow, with a slight cool down overnight tonight. A lot of us will probably return to the 40s and 50s. Sherry says that the fog is heavy in Faraday and Vidalia, but once you get to Natchez, it's not as bad. And Sherry, I did check. Like I said, I checked the Jonesville camera, and you could see the fog. It again wasn't quite as thick as it was yesterday morning, and I would assume obviously that just varies depending on location. But I appreciate those types of reports, especially with something like fog, because it is so localized in some instances that. Again, a lot of your observation stations may say one thing, but then you get into some of the rural areas, or you get on some of the highways and you run into a patch here or there, or even a concentrated area of it that sometimes we just don't know about. So always appreciate those reports. I know a lot of folks, sorry, I got something in my eye. A lot of folks send in temperature readings from their area, rain gauge readings. All of that stuff is always welcome. I'm never going to say, hey, don't tell us that stuff. That'd be silly. Infrared satellite across the area this morning, good morning, Claudia, shows the high clouds and some mid clouds that have continued to kind of traipse back in, but all of the cloud cover is on the increase. What what is more noticeable is the high and mid-level clouds because they're the brighter colors. There is a lot of low clouds out there as well, just depending on location. But we are starting to see the thicker cloud cover return across the region. I would expect to see some peaks of sunshine as we go through the day, and then some clearing briefly tonight behind that weak front before we fill back in with more cloud cover for the middle and end parts of this week. Melinda, good morning to you. Radar Products is always made possible by Browns Roofing. Schedule your free roof inspection at brownsroofingla.com. I'm going to zoom this out because there's nothing happening in our area. So you can see a quick moving system moving through the Great Lakes. Pacific Northwest storm system bringing rain to the Pacific Northwest. And still seeing some showers across the Central California coastline. But we've finally gotten rid of the flood and snow and all that stuff in Northern California. My buddy Mike Kruger's been covering all that stuff in Northern California, and it has been nuts for a lot of those folks. Check out the Futurecast, made possible by Bayou Power Sports, I-20 Frontage Road in Monroe. Again, I love this particular look. I forgot to put in my little telestrator tools, so I might have to go full screen, so you have to stay with me for a second. When it's early in the morning and I throw these graphic sequences together, sometimes I forget to put the little nuance things in there. And so then I'm like, I forgot to do it. But the cool thing is, like I said, I'm sitting right here at the table, at the desk, the digital weather desk, and can get that stuff fixed pretty quickly. Good morning, Miss Vicky. So as we go through the nighttime or the daytime hours today, we will wiggle a weak cold front through the area tonight. Now, as I mentioned, this is a weak boundary. In fact, the upper level system that is driving this weak cold front, way up here. So you could kind of see why it would be such a weak cold front because it's having to wind all the way back and through our area. So it won't bring that much of a dramatic cool down to the region today. And you'll see that at the surface in just a minute. We're starting in the upper levels. We'll move down to the surface. So bear with me. Southwesterly winds continue to churn up a lot of Gulf moisture and subtropical moisture, Pacific moisture, ahead of the series of disturbances that we'll deal with this weekend. So we start stacking up a lot of water, right? Lead disturbance that I've been talking about, centered in the atmosphere there. You can see the stronger winds associated with it here. This first disturbance, the meat of it, at least aloft, bypasses us to the northwest, so it's really going to set up with the best ingredients for strong to severe thunderstorms to our northwest. You'll see that because there is a marginal risk out for Thursday, and you'll see that in just a minute. So again, lead disturbance, better environment, better wind dynamics, stay to the north. We have plenty of warm, humid air, but we just don't have the upper level support to really fuel thunderstorm potential in our area. Could see some storms Thursday, most of it fairly scattered. Then you see the polar branch of the jet, this polar jet really dip, and the parent trough of low pressure, this big dip in the jet stream, and the super strong winds associated with it. But also, as we go through the day on Friday, we get just a nice little nudge of subtropical winds all working in tandem to really amplify the winds aloft. So all of this works together with a very warm, humid environment and an approaching cold front. All of these different features in step to bring shower and thunderstorm potential to the area. Again, we look at all the surface components, the fronts, the warm fronts, the areas of low pressure at the surface, but there's also so much happening in the upper levels of the atmosphere with any corresponding storm system that really drives what we deal with. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to cool down Saturday, but we're even cooler for Sunday. So let's take a look at what happens there. So the storm system moves through, really seeing the strongest winds maximized with this upper storm system by Friday, Saturday, and you could really see the mid-level winds cranking through portions of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys and into the Great Lakes region. But as the cold front makes its way through, there is a secondary kind of surge, if you will, another piece of energy that will dive southward as we go through the weekend. And that's going to bring us a reinforcing shot of cool air on Sunday. So as I put this into motion in just a minute, watch this area right here and watch as it dives to the southeast. And you'll see what I'm talking about with, we're going to get the First shot of cool air are initially behind the cold front, and then there's going to be a second shot. So as I put it into motion, there it is. Wham! So as we go into Sunday afternoon, secondary shot, reinforcing shot of cool, dry air arrives in the area. We stayed cool for the day Sunday and into Monday. The northwesterly flow aloft continues to keep us near or below normal temperature-wise for this time of year. For a decent stretch, Sunday, Monday, early half of next week. Onithia, good morning to you. So all of that I just showed you aloft, let's take a look at what it translates down to at the surface. Weak cold front that moves through the area tonight, little bit of clearing, weak northwesterly winds. Stay pretty quiet through the daytime hours on Wednesday. Cloud cover returns late in the day. Thursday, during the afternoon hours, showers and thunderstorms develop. Best activity and the best potential generally stays to our north. As we work deeper into the day and into the nighttime hours Thursday, again, best storm potential really is from central Arkansas into portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley. You can see storms up over the boot heel of Missouri and stretching through, again, the mid-Mississippi Valley. But in our area, rain looks to be fairly muted for much of the day Thursday. We've kept the rain chances pretty conservative. But where we do see rain, we could maybe see an isolated thunderstorm or two. Then we get into Friday, and as the front approaches and we get, again, the southern jet and the polar jet all kind of working together to really amplify winds in our atmosphere, and we have a more favorable environment. Thunderstorms could develop as early as mid to late morning. I think that's a smidge aggressive. I think the best chance will be more late morning, early afternoon. Futurecast is a little bit more aggressive with the overall storm coverage across the region as we go through the day on Friday. This is a lot different than what I showed you yesterday. Again, it's still a computer model output, so it shouldn't be taken as the written word set in stone by any stretch of the imagination. But it does bring a more organized focus of thunderstorms across a larger swath of our area. Yesterday, it was really just Mississippi Valley. Today, we're starting to see kind of the entire area under the threat for thunderstorms. And that obviously would bring with it severe weather potential as well. This is late morning. By early afternoon, storms continue to advance toward the Mississippi Valley. I would think by late afternoon, evening, most of this stuff is gone. Jay and Leanna on YouTube, thank you so much for joining in. Clouds will linger through the day Saturday. Then we get that reinforcing shot of cool air on Sunday. So here's the severe weather threat for Thursday. Marginal risk, level 1 out of 5 severe weather categories. For folks that haven't seen these in a while, marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, high. 5 different severe weather risk categories as issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Just full disclosure, these are human-drawn by human meteorologists. They are prone to change. They are prone to error. They are not perfect by any stretch. They are really genuinely meant for meteorologists and not meant for the layperson. But as data continues to be, sent out onto social media, and there's so many different ways of receiving information now that a lot of information that wasn't meant for the general public is now being, that now you guys know just as much about it as we do. 30 years ago, you would have normally not seen a severe weather outlook like this broadcast to the general public in any form. But that's where we are now. And that's okay. I don't think there's a problem with that. Marginal risk, again, level 1, severe weather category for Thursday. Again, better ingredients, stay to our northwest through the day on Thursday. The main guts of this storm system stay to our northwest on Thursday as well. Terry says his audio keeps cutting out. If my audio is cutting out for everybody else, let me know. And if it's just Terry, let him know. I don't know. Everything sounds good on my end, but that doesn't mean anything. The severe weather threat for Friday, again, we only do the slight marginal enhanced. We don't only do the 5 categories for the first 3 days of a severe weather outlook. So we have one for today, tomorrow, Thursday. Once we get beyond that into the day 4 and beyond, then we're just kind of talking more broader risk areas. So tomorrow we will get a 5-category outlook for Friday. But today we're just kind of generally broadly outlooked for severe weather potential. These are the exact same severe weather maps, just zoomed in over our area. And again, your severe weather alerts always made possible by Allegiance Health Network, with one mission to revolutionize the way individuals and families access health coverage with a focus on improving provider quality and patient care. Again, marginal risk for the northwestern half of our coverage area on Thursday, and then the outlook for a good chunk of the region on Friday. Again, the exact same general forecast, or is the exact same graphic just zoomed in. Forecast rainfall over the next 5 days, and this is with a caveat. We need the rainfall, clearly. Best chances for thunderstorms are going to be in the eastern half of our coverage area, so the Mississippi Valley has the best potential of the highest rain totals. I didn't show it because it is kind of extreme, and I don't want folks to be like, oh my gosh, but the future cast that I showed you, the Barron 3K with all the thunderstorm activity, it paints rain totals anywhere from 1/4 of an inch of rain to 3 inches of rainfall. Obviously, thunderstorm-driven rains will lead to those extreme totals if we were to see those. So that should be kind of the broad takeaway is thunderstorms drive thunderstorm-driven rain totals. Some areas will see showers and they'll get 1/4 of an inch of rain. Other areas will get an isolated thunderstorm or multiple thunderstorms. And you go into the inch to 2 inch rain totals. Heavy rainfall, a welcome sight, but it's not as beneficial and efficient for our area to soak it all in, especially as dry as the ground is. We would prefer to stretch all of the rainfall out over several days. We all know that. You don't want, 4 inches of rain in, an hour and a half, because then it just doesn't soak into the soil and it's not as beneficial to the area. You'd rather that 3 or 4 inches of rain spread out over 3 or 4 or 5 days. But we'll take what we can get when we can get it. Mid to upper 70s for highs today. Winds will stay breezy out of the southwest. Janet, Kendall, Christy, David, Ricky, Carolyn, good morning. And thank you for the audio check. May, good morning to you as well. Overnight lows tonight, low 50s. Again, a little bit cooler behind the weak cold front that passes through the area late tonight. Winds will be out of the southwest. Look at the 7-day forecast made possible by 3B Hardware. Again, the severe weather threat for Friday is lingering in the forecast. Now, one thing that we do here at the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Century Next Bank, we haven't had to do it, but we can do it, is on the 7-day forecast. You notice how all the days are blue? We can highlight those days in red to emphasize, hey, this is a day you really need to pay attention to the weather. And if we continue to trend Friday the way it looks, we would end up needing to highlight Friday in red. Again, it's a thing on the 7-day that we haven't had to do much in the first 4 months of this platform being operational, just because the weather's been so incredibly quiet. But when you see that on there, that's what that's there for. I don't have any kind of cute name for it saying, oh, this is a red alert day. No, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to get overly dramatic about it. It is there for that reason. When I turn a day red, it's for you to pay attention to it, whether it be severe weather, whether it be winter weather, whether it be tropical weather, whatever. It's a day that you need to pay attention to. Randy is on X. Risk assessment in terms of threats, I would assume, is what you're talking about. I think all modes of severe weather would be possible. Damaging winds would probably be our biggest concern with any storms that develop as we get into the day on Friday. But, of course, when you deal with that, any kind of threats on the table, especially this time of year and the overall makeup, I think tornadoes, hail, winds, heavy rain, all a possibility across the area on Friday. We'll get more into the weeds of the specific risks, hazards, threats, and stuff like that when we get inside about 72 hours on the forecast. Again, talking about Friday when we're still at Tuesday, it's tough. It's not impossible, but it's tough. But you start getting inside, like I said, that 72-hour range, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit more. Terry, don't be talking about the AT&T fiber. I have that here and I love it. They'll get it right though. I love it. And it may also just be, audio issues are weird. In full disclosure, Terry, because we've had some folks that have had audio issues and they're the only ones having it. Technology's weird. Maybe once this gets all reformat and finished up, maybe it'll be fine then. I don't know. But I'll have plenty of information for you through the day. So if the audio stinks on this for you, Terry, I'll I'll have more information as we go through the day. Look at the 7-day forecast again. Trends much cooler for Sunday, Monday behind that Friday front. So again, 60 on Saturday. We're cooler behind the initial front, and then we trend even colder than that Sunday, Monday, with that reinforcing shot of cooler air that I was talking about in the upper levels that surges in behind the initial boundary. Upcoming content for the rest of the day, we will have another live stream midday. Of course, all of our live streams are on Facebook, X, Twitch, and YouTube. So if you're joining us on another one of those platforms, then that's where we do our live stuff. Too Long Didn't Read, which is your 30-second daily weather forecast at 9:30 every morning. We will have more on the late week storm threat, and then we'll have the fishing game tomorrow. Usually I try to do like a longer form text and image discussion, article, whatever you want to call it, regarding weather events and weather discussions by early afternoon. It'll be either late morning, early afternoon, somewhere in that ballpark, as we try to get just the details now nailed down, and obviously we get more detailed as we get closer to any kind of upcoming weather event. And if you don't like the way I describe things, if you wait about 90 minutes to 2 hours after the fact, then you can get a really crummy Chat GPT version of the exact same thing on some of your other local meteorologist pages. Just saying. Good morning, PV. Good morning, Bill. And thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, Bill, we can get more thorough when there's something to talk about. There just hasn't been anything to talk about lately. And we will get even more thorough on the severe weather threats. We'll get into the, the different types of ingredients in the environment and what we can support and what we can't. And all, again, the nitty-gritty, if you will. We can get a little bit more cute with the details, if you will, as we get closer to the event. We're still kind of talking in some broad general stuff. And we will get more detailed and more thorough with things as we can. Same with winter weather and tropical weather. We have no time restraints here. This has been a 22-minute stream. I did not intend for it to be this long, but again, we can do whatever we want whenever we want. Wait till we get a severe weather event. Again, weather's the only programming here. Forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. I'll check in with you a little bit later today. Like I said, Too Long Didn't Read comes out in about an hour and a half. Welcome back to school, everybody. Teachers, you're on deck. Good luck with the kiddos. They're crazy. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Century Next Bank. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.